All right, good evening, everyone. It is March 25th. We have our Board of Education meeting today. It is approximately 6 p.m. Our board is gathered in our leadership conference room for the purpose of taking a vote to go into executive session to discuss a student request to remain in the district, a student disciplinary appeal, to conduct interviews for appointment of an administrative position, some employee matters, review of employee performance, and review of compensation. Is there, as well as matters of potential litigation and matters concerning the leasing of district property. Is there a motion to go into executive session? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. We will be returning at approximately 7:30 p.m. to reopen our regular business meeting. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we begin with an exciting presentation, just a housekeeping matter. We previously were in executive session. We opened our meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. Now we're returning from exec session. I'll take a motion to close exec session. Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Scragg. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now we begin our regular Board of Ed meeting. If any residents, taxpayers, or employees wish to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting, please be reminded that you may do so by signing up at the computer terminal located at the back of the room. All right. With that said, we have a couple presentations, a budget work session, but first we start with a preview of our main stage musical production. And to tell us about it, our very own Lucy Maniatis. Lucy.
Okay, hi everyone. This weekend, high school is putting on their production of Pippin. We have our first show on Friday at 7 o'clock, Saturday at 2 p.m., and Saturday at 7 o'clock. And the show is very interesting. It's not your typical show where you come and you see a storyline. It's basically a story within a story. It's about this man, Pippin, played by Landry, trying to find his purpose in life and trying to find something fulfilling to do with his life. And me, being player, is kind of guiding him throughout this story and being the narrator of the entire thing and playing from behind the scenes. So, if you want to know more about it, come see it this weekend. And this is the number called Right Track in the
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing it. All right. Mike, you always have a hard act to follow. But we propose no cuts to the arts here in South Huntington. Oh, sorry.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So this tonight is going to be our third budget work session. We are going to do it a little differently. We're not going to do a song or a dance because we probably wouldn't do any good at it. But tonight I'm going to be joined up here by my colleagues, Mr. Edwin Smith, our Deputy Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, as well as Ms. Lombardo, our Executive Director for Student Services. They're going to be discussing some of the areas they work on daily, such as class sizes, staffing, and a general overview of student services. And then I'll close it out when they're done, just giving a brief overview of where we are with the budget to budget for the year. That said, I'll step aside and pass it off to the two of them. You have your copies. You need this or? No.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Before I begin tonight's presentation, I would like to personally thank all the principals and supervisors who met with me over the last few months to confirm our staffing needs for the 26-27 school year. Additionally, I'd like to thank my fellow cabinet members. This time of year always reminds me that it's a team effort, and not a day goes by that I'm not humbled to be part of the South Huntington family. The theme for staffing this year centers on reducing instructional staff through attrition and retirements, a point that I will reiterate throughout tonight's presentation. It is worth noting that these staff reductions will have little to no impact on class sizes or programs we offer here in South Huntington. This evening, Mr. Lombardo and I will provide you with the continuous special education services offered in each building, as well as the projected general education staffing needs for the upcoming school year. So tonight, we start our staffing journey with Oakwood Primary Center. Each year, we begin with an approximate 200 students that we project are going to be enrolled in our kindergarten at each one of our primary centers. As you can see on this slide, we are projecting that 9 sections will be needed at each grade level, maintaining class sizes in the lower 20s at Oakwood. So we kind of transition to the other side of town, over at Countrywood. We continue our journey through the district. We're taking a closer look at Countrywood Primary Center. Once again, we are projecting approximately 200 students in kindergarten next year. However, as shown by the enrollment numbers on the slide, enrollment at Countrywood has continued to decline over the last 2 years. As we plan for next school year, there will be a reduction of 2 sections in the 2nd grade to maintain balanced class sizes. 2 retirements account for this reduction. At this time, Mr. Lombardo will walk you through the continuum of services offered at the primary level.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, administrators, staff members, and members of the school community. Tonight we are pleased to present an overview of district staffing as it relates to special education services. Our goal is to ensure that every student, regardless of ability, has access to a high-quality, inclusive, and supportive learning environment. This presentation will highlight the range of services we provide, including individualized instruction, related services, and specialized programs designed to meet the diverse needs of our students. This includes, are we on the slide? There we go. Academic services offered on the primary level include the full continuum of services, resource room, integrated co-teaching, special class programs, which include the 1511 setting, the 812 setting, and the 612 setting. We are proud of our 612 program, which we are in our second year. Next year will be our third year. Again, this program is allowing us to educate students in district who in the past may have been sent to outside placements. We've had a lot of support from our assistant principals, our principals, of course, the Board of Education, and our community, and that has been a very successful program. We continue to offer all related services on the primary level. These services address specific barriers to learning, whether communication, motor skills, or social emotional needs, so students can fully access instruction. These related services include behavior specialists in all buildings, school psychologists, social workers, speech and language therapists, teacher assistants and paraprofessionals, specialized reading services, and of course, we do contract some related services out to agencies, which we'll touch on a little bit more later on in the presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Smith.
The next stop in our staffing journey takes us to our intermediate schools, starting with Birchwood. There are a few grade levels of note. Birchwood is accepting a smaller third grade class, which allows them to utilize this year's staffing to accommodate a larger fourth grade class next year. Birchwood's fifth grade class remains approximately the same size with no additional staffing needs. Please note that there is one less section projected overall for next year, which will be referenced in our next slide. As we move across town to Maplewood, you will notice that their projected third grade is similar in size to the current one, maintaining their 9 existing sections. However, please note that the increase in one section in the fourth grade, as referenced in the previous slide, will be utilizing the extra section from Birchwood to accommodate this increase. The fifth grade at Maplewood remains consistent in size, requiring no additional staffing. Once again, I'm going to pass it to Mr. Lombardo, which will walk you through continuum services at the intermediate level.
We will continue to provide a full continuum of services at the intermediate level for the 26-27 school year. This, of course, includes what you see here under the full continuum of academic services offered. Again, a 612 program, an 812 program, 1511 integrated co-teaching, and resource room. Currently, the 612 special class program is offered at Maplewood. We do of course, have plans to expand this program to Birchwood in the near future as our students in the primary levels age into the intermediate schools. Consistent with primary level, the intermediate level also provides a full range of related services. Again, a little bit repetitive from the primary slide, but we do, of course, have behavior specialists in all buildings, psychologists, social workers, speech and language therapists. We have our teacher assistants and paraprofessional, as well as specialized reading services and contracted related services as necessary. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Smith, who will discuss the middle level.
Actually, this slide threw Mr. Conway and myself in a loop a little bit because we were talking about Silas Wood a few different times, and we had to recognize that we have to talk about Memorial for next year. So for the first time ever in a projected staffing conversation is Memorial 6th Grade Center. As we continue to transition to secondary slide, our focus shifts from the number of sections to overall average class sizes. The projections for the 6th grade remain very similar to the current school year, with all content areas averaging in the mid-20s. This typically is the sweet spot for secondary education. Total enrollment at Silas this year is currently at 424 students with a projected enrollment of about 405 next school year. As we transition to Stimson Middle School, we are again looking at balanced class sizes. Note that some of the honors courses may exceed 25 students, which is not uncommon for those types of courses. Additionally, some courses have only 1 or 2 sections, known in the scheduling world as singletons or doubletons, can also have higher class size averages. You may see this in a course, for example, like French. Over enrollment at Stimson this year is 867 students, with a projected enrollment of about 852 students next school year. At this time, I'll introduce Mr. Lombardo again to take us through the special education services offered.
Okay, so at the sixth grade and middle school levels, we continue again to offer a full continuum of services with a slight variation. As noted on the presentation, we include a 12-1-3 special class, which currently serves as the next step for students transitioning from the 612 and 812 programs. As always, we will continue to evaluate and refine our offerings to ensure they align with and effectively meet the evolving needs of our students. Programs on the sixth grade and middle level include a 12-1-3 special class program, 15-1-1 special class program, integrated co-teaching, resource room, and we also see consultant teacher services listed here. Consultant teacher services being our least restrictive support we can give students. Again, you'll see all the related services offered through South Huntington employees on the middle school level. These include, again, similar to what we've seen on the primary and intermediate levels. Mr. Smith.
Finally, we conclude our staffing journey at Walt Whitman High School. Once again, the focus remains on class averages in the mid-20s. In reviewing Whitman's courses, English, social studies, math, science, world languages, and specials, they predominantly hit that sweet spot I mentioned earlier. Enrollment at Walt Whitman this year is about 1,856 students, with a projected enrollment of 1,800 for next year. Based on this reduced enrollment, Whitman is currently going to be down 4 FTEs for the upcoming school year, which once again has no impact on class sizes or programming. Now, before I pass the presentation off to Mr. Lombardo once again tonight, I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into these numbers. Let's not lose sight on kind of what they represent. They represent our next valedictorian, salutatorian. They represent students who bless us with their talent on stage, and we just saw that tonight, like the cast of Pippin, and students whose artwork adorns the walls of our district office, our school buildings, our galleries. These numbers are the athletes we cheer from the sidelines, the science research students who shock us with their drive to solve real world problems, and students I saw celebrated at the Challenger basketball game yesterday at Stimson. These numbers represent our amazing South Huntington students. And finally, let us not forget the teachers, administrators, and support staff who champion them each and every day. Thank you.
Similar to what is offered on the middle school level, we offer a full continuum of services on the high school level. We have the programs listed here, and again, we have the 12-1-3, 15-1 integrated co-teaching resource room and consultant teacher services. Consistent with the middle school level, we offer full continuum of related services at the high school level. One notable distinction is the inclusion of job coaching within our related services. This provides students in special classes with opportunities to develop pre-vocational and pre-employment skills in the community. And finally, we have some additional services that we offer through special education. These services are offered through district-wide providers. And these services include a teacher of the deaf, assistive tech specialist, a social worker, a district-wide social worker, transition coordinators, and a Project Excel coordinator, somebody who we brought on this year to oversee the Project Excel, and that social worker has done an excellent job there. We do also have some services that we contract with external providers to deliver certain specific services, and that includes occupational therapy, physical therapy, vision services, feeding therapy, individual nursing services, and orientation and mobility services. Mr. Conway, I believe you are up next.
Okay, thank you to both of you for your work in not only preparing the presentation with me, but also for your explanation of your piece of the world tonight. I appreciate that. What we're gonna try to do now is to give a brief overview in the upcoming slides of some of the budget to budget changes and fluctuations. You'll see some numbers increasing, some decrease. Keeping in mind, we have probably in the neighborhood of 2,000 budget codes. So with each of the categories you're about to see, you have to be mindful of the fact there's dozens and dozens and sometimes hundreds of codes rolled up into them. So I'm just gonna try to give you a peek into the key drivers that are leading to some of these changes you're about to see. The areas we're gonna touch base on are those 4 categories: support, instruction, transportation, and then things such as the benefits, debt service, things of that nature. So in the support codes, known as the 1,000 codes, that's typically what you'd see. For the most part, you could view this slide as JKAO, as well as our safety, security, and facilities. You have your costs for the district offices such as personnel, business office, payroll, purchasing, things of that nature, as well as all of our security staff, facilities, grounds, and maintenance, as well as things like legal services and accounting fees. So this slide it'll look familiar to the other slides on there. So the far left is that category bucket, if you will, that I mentioned a moment ago. The next column would be the proposed number for the upcoming school year. Then that third column is the year we're living in with the adopted budget from last year, as well as followed by the dollar and percentage change. So that's how each of these slides are going to be laid out. For the most part, most of these budget code categories on this slide are due to fluctuations between typical fees such as audit, legal services, BOCEs, as well as, of course, salary and contractual codes throughout these codes. The 2 numbers that I'd like to just bring to your attention is on that third line where you'll see a deviation of a positive $1.1 million increase in facilities, as well as plant operations. The main drivers there, I'll give you a few just to give some insight to what's leading to that number. We have an increase in building repair codes of about $100,000. We're anticipating some BOCEs increased codes for things like miscellaneous abatements that may have to happen throughout the year. We're seeing additional utilities costs due to some increase in heating costs this past winter. And then, of course, the various contractual and salary codes for all the facilities folks that roll up into that code. Next number on this slide I'd like to bring your attention to is that last one in black on the right, the $366,000. The key driver behind that category of codes, plain and simple, is our insurance. I'm not speaking of health insurance. This is our general day-to-day liability insurance. $330,000 of that increase, almost all of the 24%, is related to our general liability insurance. Everyone in this room has seen the cost of insurance, whether it's your auto insurance, your homeowners, things like that. This district is no different, and again, South Huntington is not unique to this situation. We are seeing, or all districts, I should say, are seeing these levels of insurance increases hitting their district budgets.
Is that unrelated to the number of claims we've seen?
That has a small piece of it, but our claims have typically been quite small.
Yeah.
Minor fender benders,
Hardly
things
anything,
like
yeah.
that, but it's really just the nature of the beast with the property values rising. When they try to ensure replacement costs of buildings, that's kind of been the driver that we've seen there. Okay, on the instructional codes, if you could just kind of give a snapshot to what that looks like. It's typically the forward-facing items the students see. It's the building administration, such as your principals, your teachers, your guidance department, your extracurricular activities, your athletics, all the things that you would imagine to be in the building versus, let's say, up here at JKAO. And when we go to this slide here, there are quite a bunch of numbers as well, but I'll try to just highlight the concept here. And as my colleagues just went through both class sizes and staffing, the real takeaway that drives this slide in a nutshell is overall the theme of this budget has been to continue to deliver to the students the opportunities they've come to know, expect, and love year after year after year. There haven't been any significant changes to class sizes, nor have there been any reductions to program, especially theater or anything like that. So that's the good theme here, is that everything does remain in the budget. It's been focused on supporting student needs, obviously teachers, as well as strong classroom instruction. Like I mentioned, all the opportunities are continuing to be fully supported, and it's done through a thoughtful process of a line-by-line analysis. We're not a district, and we never will be, where you just take a budget code from last year, add 3%, and call it a day. Everything is looked at, whether it's through me or the department heads and assistant superintendents for their respective areas. It's really looked at line by line, what is needed. Sometimes you'll come across a code I'll get to in a moment where you'll see turns out there might be a dollar or two extra this year. We can reduce it. We're always trying to line up with where we really think things will be going and not just leave money in codes because of that. One thing driving a significant decrease in a favorable way here is due to some of the work Mr. Lombardo mentioned a moment ago with bringing students in-house. We've seen a reduction, kudos to his department, of roughly $600,000 to $700,000 in BOCES costs that we're sending students out for. It started off with his office reviewing the needs of the students and asking, can we do a better job with our own staff? Can these students get a better opportunity in education? Once his answer determined that to be yes, that's the direction they go in. The byproduct of that turned out to be some nice savings. So that was the driver. This turned out to be a nice benefit by doing that. So, touching on this slide, there's a reason I'm showing this again from last time, the 5,000 codes of transportation. We're looking to spend $1.6 million next year on the purchase of some buses. As it's stated here, we're looking at different size buses from 66 passengers to 72s and vans, things like that. Obviously, the intent, as we've said, is to continue to keep our fleet modern and fresh, as well as take back routes from our supplier, namely for our in-district routes, and to work towards savings and better service to the families in the South Huntington. Some of the costs that we're about to run through for transportation, broken out to three categories, are in-district transportation. That covers things like supervisor and office staff salaries, dispatcher, bus monitors, drivers. Then we have a full-service garage building with 4 full-time mechanics. They do most, if not all, of the maintenance for our buses and most district vehicles. And then last on that side is contract transportation. As that name suggests, that is the price we pay to our third-party vendor for their service. Okay, so to look at those costs, district transportation services, you'll see a $170,000 increase. For the most part, that's driven by contractual salary increases. We've added bus monitors again into this year's budget, as well as an increase of roughly $95,000 to $100,000 for bus purchases year over year. And like I mentioned a moment ago, where we do look at each code analytically, this is one of those codes where we were able to reduce the budget by approximately $125,000 to some bus fuel savings. I believe this is our second year where we're in the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Huntington. And what we found there is not only is it working well for the fleet, we're actually recognizing savings by having that relationship. So that's been a good partnership. And then jumping to the last line, that decrease of $100,000, that is really a big shout out and a thank you to the transportation department, because it's really no surprise it's such an inflationary area of any school to see contract transportation. We're hearing stories of other districts, whether they have to endure, new contracts, new RFPs, or double-digit increases. Throughout the goals the last couple of years of taking these routes in-house, purchasing our own buses, which is why I mentioned that a moment ago, we've been able to take these routes back, we believe offering better service, but also not only maintaining the budget line, but to decrease it. And the fact that we're able to maintain and decrease on a code that's inflationary going up, that again really speaks volumes, and a big thank you to the folks over at Transportation who keep analyzing our routes and keep working towards that district goal.
A point of clarification with the buses, that's 10 new vehicles, but that doesn't mean our fleet is going up by 10 because we obsolete some each year, right?
That's correct. At this point, we're expecting for next year to obsolete in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 vehicles. So this would be a net increase of roughly 3 to 4 new vehicles for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. On this next 9,000 codes, there'll be several slides here. It covers things like benefits, which is your health insurance, pension system, things like that, social security costs. Then we'll get into, right after this next slide, the debt service and the interfund costs. So on this here with the 9,000 codes regarding benefits, we have our pension costs, which is obviously the ERS and TRS system. Year to year, we're seeing a decrease of roughly $77,000, and that's made up of 2 swings. And you'll see on an upcoming slide where I have the history of the rates. But within that number is a decrease in the TRS rate of roughly $580,000 or $590,000, and then an increase in ERS of approximately $510,000. So the net, the net of those two is that $77,000 you'll see there. The next line, Social Security, that's a slight increase of around 3%. That in and of itself is strictly a function of salary increases year over year. And then taking a jump down to the bottom where we're seeing health insurance. This one, there's a slide in a moment to speak to, but again, that number overall budget for next year is $33.8 million. It's worth spending a moment on that. It's an increase at this point. We're projecting 8.3%, just shy of $2.6 million. And this is one of those numbers where every school district is faced with the situation. It's an enormous number. We really have essentially no control over it, and that's just where we're looking at. This past January, we saw a rate increase of, top of my head, I believe it was just about 8.9%, so right in that zone. And that's what we've seen. I'll show you on the future slide what health insurance has looked like the last couple of years. And that last one, Medicare reimbursements, that's just contractual obligations. We are due to pay retirees and their spouses, and those dollar amounts increase each year set by the government. So just to kind of bring to a visual on these next 3 slides coming up, this is the history of the TRS rates. So going back to 2019 through today, you'll see the lowest rate is roughly 8.25, which is the projected rate for next year, and their high has been 10.29, which is in 2022. For the most part, you don't see a whole lot of fluctuation there. It's relatively stable, I would call it. But make note that the high of 10.29 in the year 2022 is actually inverse to what the employees' retirement system looks like. It's kind of ironic that the highest for the TRS is actually the lowest rate for the employees' retirement system. And you'll see in the same time period, during that year of 2022, it was its lowest rate of 11.6, and next year they're projecting 17.6. So unfortunately, since 2022, this graph only goes in one direction. What we've seen the ERS rates continue to look like.
And they always tell us it's dependent on the stock market, but it's generally been trending up the stock market, so
And
why is
that's
this
what
not going down?
That's what I can't wrap my head around. You would think that these two should be kind of similarly aligned,
Right.
and these are the rates they give us, but it is kind of ironic that the lowest year is the highest year and vice versa. The next one I'd like to bring to attention, I know we've spoken about this in the past, the health insurance rates. Just I think it's a pretty good visual to bring to light what we've seen here, going back to 2013. With very few exception, it's really unfortunately been an upward trend. Again, not unique to South Huntington, it's just every district in New York and Long Island are facing this. To give some context to the numbers, a family plan in 2013 was roughly 20,000, and an individual plan was about 9,000. Fast forward a dozen or so years later to 2026, and we're looking at roughly 44,000 for a family and individual cost of 20,000. So in a relatively short period of time, these costs have more than doubled. I would love to see we could see that turning around, but we shall see where that takes us. Looking over to another component of the 9,000 codes is our debt service, really made up of 3 categories, but we'll just speak to the first 2, which are really relevant to us. Capital projects, that's essentially past debt and borrowings the district has taken out many years back. This is the principal and interest related to those borrowings, as well as the relatively more recent energy performance contract. And then in that middle area, we see tax anticipation notes, also known as TANs. That's nothing more than short-term borrowing. So as you can imagine, the new school year starts in July. Our costs don't go away. People still have to get paid all throughout the year. And the reason for this short-term borrowing, again, almost every district faces this, especially in Suffolk County, is your state aid typically comes in around September, which is nice, but the tax levy does not start coming in. It begins around late December, and then early January is when we start to see that influx. So for that 4 to 6 month period, you could call it a cash crunch for lack of a better word. So where us, like any other district, is going out for that short-term borrowing. Another component of the 9,000 codes are these interfund transfers. That represents money leaving our general fund to go to other funds owned and operated by the district, such as the special aid fund. That money represents the required 20% share of the district for the school age summer program. The school lunch fund, you'll see on the following slide, a very small dollar amount that becomes less and less relevant for us the last several years since we are on CEP and everyone's getting free lunch. The history behind this years ago would have been we had to cover the bad debt for the lunch bills that went unpaid. But again, as I mentioned, since everyone is now free, that's very little to no issue. And transfer to capital, this is the budget line you'll see year after year due to the new projects recommended by the facilities committee. So to put some numbers to all of that information I just shared with you, the top line there is our historical bonds and energy performance contract. This is the principal and interest related to that. you'll see a decrease of roughly $405,000, and that's strictly a function of the debt service schedule. As these bonds get older, the debt service is simply dropping off, nothing more to that. TANs, we're anticipating a decrease in our insurance expense of hopefully $225,000, and the three ways we're looking at that is we're trying to keep an ear to the ground in terms of what interest rates, may look like. It looks like they may head downward. But more importantly, what we have control over is how much we borrow and the amount of time in which we borrow that for. So we try to borrow as little as possible to get us through that period of time, as well as for keep that debt outstanding for as short a period of time as possible, because the interest we're charged accrues daily. Jumping down to that last line, you'll see a deviation of roughly $560,000. That is related to the transfer to capital. The projects are going to be outlined, presented next week, next board meeting on April 21st, once the Facilities Committee finishes fine-tuning that list of proposed projects for the upcoming year. That brings us to one of the final slides, which is a total budget to budget presentation. So at this point, the proposed budget for 26-27 is $227,993,622, roughly a $5.4 million increase year over year, or a 2.4% budget to budget increase. The really standout takeaways from this slide is, like we've mentioned, all three of us tonight, we are including in this budget all the key things that all the students have come to expect, all the staff has come to expect, while doing so being very mindful of grants that are available to us, opportunities for savings, as I mentioned, the bus fuel, things like that, to keep that the best we can to control our expenses and, of course, be mindful to the taxpayer. So that gets us to a 2.4% budget to budget change. Coincidentally, that does not line up with our maximum allowable tax cap. I swear that is a coincidence, but that is really how it shakes out. But before we get to that, I would like to spend a moment on this proposition.
How many new dollars did the state aid increase of 1% result in?
Foundation aid is about a $580,000 increase year over year at this point. So once we hear from the governor, hopefully, the legislation, hopefully, theoretically, April 1st, we'll see what date that actually comes in. We'll see if that number does change. This proposition, I won't bother to read it, but this, as all our presentations, are up on our website for you to read later on. But the takeaway here is, back in May of 2024, the voters authorized the use of money from 2 property sales to be spent on boiler replacement at Walt Whitman High School. It turns out that project is now coming in under budget, approximately $600,000. So the essence of this proposition is requesting permission from the taxpayer to utilize that unspent money for a new boiler at Countrywood. So there's your sneak peek into one of next year's capital projects, is going to be a boiler replacement at Countrywood. And this, again, is just simply requesting permission to reallocate that $600,000 to that Countrywood boiler. There is no impact to the to the taxpayer by virtue of this proposition, as that money is already accounted for and in hand. And this next one here, is the tax levy. So as we've mentioned throughout these presentations, our maximum allowable for next year is 2.437%. As always, I'm going to turn it over to the board right now. That, as you know, is a formula-based discussion, but it's up to the board to have their public discussion on where they would like to land that levy for next year. So with that, Mr. Ciapetto, I pass it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Great job, and great job on a very difficult budget environment. I mean, we're talking about a 1% state aid increase right now. We're hoping to get to 2%. That's probably the best we're going to do, and we're crossing our fingers for that. I mean, but 1% is really a puny number, and as you said, it counts for about $580,000 of new revenue to us.
That's right.
And just alone, the health care increase that you saw was $3 million.
Correct.
I mean, so that, almost more than 5 times it. So to really balance this budget is nearly an impossible task to do with no state aid. So I give you a lot of credit. And also, to do it without reductions in programs is really even more impressive, particularly since, districts out there like South Country and Rockville Center are making massive cuts to their district. South Country because they had bad management, but, not everybody is like that. Everybody, so this is...
It's been a group effort. I would love to take credit for it, but it really has been a team effort From the building level, the principals, as well as Dr. Delia and the rest of the cabinet, we have spent countless hours the last couple months, as you can imagine. But I think we're all proud of where we landed. I think it offers everything we've come to know and expect. And like I said, with that, I'll leave it back to you.
And no, yeah, I mean, if you think of the delta between the new revenue we got and new expenses, and to be in this position is almost miraculous. So I'll turn it over to the board. You know, we respect, obviously, the community. We try to keep our tax rate as low as possible. This is probably one of the more challenging times we've had recently because of, you know, the state not wanting to give any money. You know, I mean, for them to think that 1% is sufficient for anything is, you know, is outrageous. They usually do better in election years, but this is really a poor performance. The one house budgets that came out of the state legislature and the assembly and the Senate had 1% increase each to a big 2%. So, you know, we'll take it, but it's not buttering the bread. So, and they did have an increase also that did seem significant in how they were weighting our L's. But I guess because we're on Save Harmless, that we're not eligible for that, so.
That's correct. We did some digging into that, and as you stated, until you get yourself out of that Save Harmless, it really does not help us at this point.
Yeah, so they spent a lot of money to do a fancy Rockefeller report that turns out to be not worth more than the paper it's written on. But it's my soapbox. Thoughts, Mr. Bronson? Any thoughts on where we are so far?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. No, I think it was a very challenging budget. I see that there were a number of increased costs, but it looks like overall, from a tax levy standpoint, it's actually not a significant increase to the taxpayer, I think. And so it's also kudos to that even though there were cost increases across the board, the actual increase from last year to this year is quite minimal, which, given inflation and everything that I saw on those slides, I think is important for the community to be aware of. And again, thanks to everybody who was involved in the budget on that. I did have one question, which I don't know if it's really a question for you. It's not necessarily budget related, but maybe more for the transportation. I noticed for the buses, there was one bus that was for 66 people, and there were 5 buses, I believe, for 72.
Correct.
And I wasn't sure a 6-seat difference. Why would we just not get 6 72 buses?
From what I understand, I'm not gonna pretend to be a bus driver, but I know some of the limitations are the size of the vehicles down certain streets. So for example, a lot of the buses we use at from educational at the high school, those are all the 72 passenger buses, well, primarily. But there are some size limitations on some streets, so that could be the reason for the 66. You're right, it's probably a small difference, but this is what they requested that suits their needs, so we're doing our best to deliver to them what they're asking for.
Thank you.
Sure. Other comments by members? Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on to our business agenda. Right. Yeah. Which, by the way, are just a further note on the budget, we're below the Suffolk County average tax levy increase, and we are towards the bottom of the town of Huntington districts as well. So we're mindful of the impact of this on the community, and you know, we understand that your taxes are an investment, and you know, we think it's an investment well spent. All right, new business. Motion to adopt the agenda. Oh, Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? We have items E through H, which consist of our minutes, financial items, bids, and bills. Motion. Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on there? Dr. Delia, you want to just talk about a bid? We have a bid on here that's you know, important one for us.
Absolutely. Tonight for the board's approval is a request to award the bid for construction management services to Park East Construction. There were several interviews with both respondents, which happened to be Park East, obviously, and school construction consultants. And after a final interview with the facilities committee, it's recommended that we move in the direction of Park East. They're a local firm and have a vast portfolio of school experience. They're actually down the block here on Jericho.
And you know, I think Ms. LaCara and I interviewed them. We were very impressed with them. There were further communications afterwards. They've lowered their rates even more, which was good. But they showed great experience in the area, dedication to our district, and also very importantly, they had a robust project estimation tool so that we can ensure that our capital projects are on budget. Anything else, Dr. Delia? Okay, questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, communications, we have two communications. The first is an invitation to the Maplewood Night Out. Join us for a night of raffles, music, fun, and dinner. It's on April 27th, 2026, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the tap room. And you can get your raffle tickets now. You have all different packages. I'm sure great baskets. You have the Boogie Bash package, the Good Vibes Only, Staying Alive, and the Groove and Glow. So. We have a email communication from a purported resident regarding school construction. This is the third such email we've seen on this. It's as I said last time, this seems to be a form generating website, school construction corruption.org, and you kind of like put your information in there and it spits out a letter to the Board of Education. Obviously, we've been talking about project labor agreements, that they have, this has been one of the hottest issues of contention this year in Albany probably. School boards in general have opposed project labor agreements in the school, just because of a lack of local control. Right now, school districts have the ability to enter into a project labor agreement. So, they can if they want. We're not sure why there needs to be a mandate requiring us to do so. We can just do it if we want, but it's telling that nobody actually enters them. So, you know, we have some questions that we're trying to figure out. You know, we keep an open mind on everything. This letter mentions that it may save school districts money on construction. If that's true, we would welcome that, but we really don't have any basis to say that. There's not a lot of data out there. There's a New Jersey study from the Department of Labor that says the opposite, that'll cost 30% more. There's some privately owned studies that have been done that say will save money. I think the best and most prudent course would be for New York State to study it for a year. You know, maybe the Department of Labor can issue a report. That's where we are. Anyone want to read that letter? Do we have Mr. Milana here? No? Okay. Moving on to new business, we have quite a bunch. First is a disciplinary appeal. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Ms. LaCara. All right, this is a disciplinary appeal that we received, appeal of a superintendent's imposed suspension following a suspension hearing and a finding of guilt. Is there a motion? Oh, we did the motion, right? Yeah. All in favor of approving the appeal and reducing the suspension? All opposed? Okay. Appeal is denied, 0-6. Moving on to item number 2, we have a request to remain, 2 of them, from one family. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Bronson. These are for 2 students, one attending Stimson, another attending Countrywood, to remain in South Huntington for the remainder of the school year, acknowledging responsibility to provide transportation to and from the school. This is discussed in executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. And then moving on to another request to remain for multiple students at various grades in the district. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. This matter was also discussed in executive session. Is there, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right. So that request to remain is denied, 0-6. Moving to item number 4 is the approval of a secret resolution. Is there a motion? Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mrs. Cepeda. Tonight for the board's approval is a request for a secret for the Countrywood boiler replacement that I just mentioned a moment ago in the presentation. That will be part of the second proposition for the voters. This project has been deemed by our architect as a type 2 project, therefore requiring no further action and no significant impact to the environment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Conway. So that's, as you said, a sneak peek for our next presentation. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item number 5, which is a cousin of resolution number 4. Is there a motion for a second proposition motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Scragg. So this is a proposition that goes on the budget. It's the one that Mr. Conway read to you during our budget presentation. It's for an amount not to exceed $600,000 to go towards part of the construction cost for a new boiler at Countrywood. So this will offset part of that, and as it's just a moving money around really, because it was very fortunate that the Walt Whitman High School boilers came in under budget, which is rare. So that's good. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And that makes us, we're really doing very well with our budget, our boilers. Once we complete Countrywood, I think we'll be done with our boilers for hopefully a few decades. Hopefully. They're very expensive, as you can tell. All right. Next, we have a budget transfer. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Clark. Mr. Conway.
Thank you. Tonight, for the board's approval, is a budget transfer request for approximately $138,000 for the renovation of several bathrooms over at Memorial. The funding source for this is going to be from savings through our contract transportation code for the current year.
Okay, thank you. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 7, approval of a cooperative bidding program with Eastern Suffolk BOCES motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to item number 8, approval of the health service agreement between South Huntington and Smithtown motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Conway.
Thank you. Tonight, for the board approval, is a contract between South Huntington and Smithtown School District. This is for health services they're providing to 5 students at Smithtown Christian School that reside in our district.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's the first of many. Item number 9, approval of the health service agreement between South Huntington and Seaford. Is there a motion? Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Conway.
Yes, so along the same theme as the prior one, this is for a contract between South Huntington and Seaford. They are providing health services to 1 student attending St. William the Abbot School, and that child also lives within South Huntington.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item number 10, approval of agreement between South Huntington and Hicksville. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Conway.
Yes, thank you. So this contract, as you mentioned, between us and Hicksville is for services they are providing to, it's 1 student at Trinity Lutheran, 1 at Holy Family, and 2 at Holy Trinity. So all of those, the 4 students there do reside within South Huntington.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to item number 11, approval of a health service agreement between South Huntington and East Northport Union Free School District. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Clark. Mr. Conway, you're the star of the show here.
I don't know about that, but so this contract here between South Huntington and Northport is for health services they're providing to 27 South Huntington students, and they are attending Trinity Regional School.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Next, approval of health service agreement between South Huntington and Mineola. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Conway.
All right, it's that time of year for these agreements. So this is between South Huntington and Mineola. That is for services Mineola would be providing to 5 South Huntington students attending the Solomon Schechter School.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Item 13, approval of health service agreement between South Huntington and Comac. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Clark. Mr. Conway.
Okay, thank you. And this last one here is between South Huntington and Comac for health services they're providing to 16 South Huntington residents attending the MDQ Academy.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Conway, for your service. You're off the hook. Item 14, approval of extra classroom account for girls varsity wrestling. Is there a motion? Ms. Clark, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Tonight, for the board's approval, we have a request from Dr. Murphy on behalf of our girls wrestling coach, Ms. Angela Biancamano, to create an extra classroom activity fund. This will allow the team to formally fundraise to support team expenses such as wrestling clinics, ongoing training, and equipment.
Great. Okay. Any questions? Sorry. All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to item 15, approval of an overnight field trip request. Is there a motion? Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you again. Tonight for the board's approval, we have a request from Ms. Blanco for 4 students to attend the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institute weekend in Albany to represent South Huntington. This trip is completely sponsored by the New York State Office of Bilingual Education and World Languages, and there is no cost to the district.
Okay, I think they go on this annually, right?
Yes.
Excellent. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 16, approval of surplus IT equipment. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Okay. Tonight for the board's approval, we have a request from Dr. Rice, our Supervisor of Educational Technology, to declare a number of IT items obsolete. This includes projectors, Chromebooks, Z-Space computers, network equipment, computers, monitors, and printers. These items have reached their end of life and are no longer usable by the district.
Okay. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to item 17 is the approval of an MOA with the Custodial Grounds and Maintenance Unit. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. Clark. Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. For the Board of Education's approval is this memorandum of agreement with our Custodial Maintenance and Grounds Unit. This is a 5-year agreement that speaks to a 2.2% average annual increase to wages over the life of the contract. Additionally, makes adjustments to longevity, provides requirements for signing in and out for all members, increases probation for newly hired members from 1 to 2 years, and requires members to wear uniforms provided by the district. Just also want to thank Mr. Conway for joining me as a member of the district's negotiations teams throughout.
And the uniform and sign-in out procedures, are those new items?
Those are new items, correct?
Okay, great. Thank you for your work on negotiating this, and that takes a long time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
This item was previously discussed in executive session on many occasions. Got it over the finish line. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to item number 18, approval of donation from Burlington Coat Factory. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Scragg and Mr. Bronson. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, we received a very generous donation from Burlington Coat Factory. Dr. Hender and I were at their opening a couple of weeks ago. That physically was a very big check. But we had teachers and students from Birchwood joining us that day, so it was a nice little intro for them into the district and wanting to have a close partnership with our schools. So it's a very generous donation of $5,000 used for teacher deemed school supplies for their classrooms.
Excellent. Excellent. Very nice. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Item 19, approval of a donation from Elliot Leonardo, Signature Premier Properties. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. LaCara. This is a generous donation from Elliot Leonardo, Signature Premier Properties, also graduate of 1996 from Walden High School, member of the Walden Hall of Fame, and he was recognized as a friend of South Huntington last month, in part because of his generosity and continued donations to South Huntington. This donation is for a proposed project over at Memorial for a Veterans Plaza, another coming attraction. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Item 20, placement, recommendations for the placement of students by the committees on special education and preschool special education, dates listed December, January, February, March of this year. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Clark. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Dr. Hender, we didn't have anything for you today. I apologize.
That's okay. I'm sure we'll make up for it next time.
All right, we'll move on to personnel. We have personnel schedules 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 15, 16, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Just one announcement to make on there. We have a shifting of title and responsibilities. Mr. Matthew Hoffman will become the Director of Supervisor of Fine and Performing Arts, change from his current position of Chair. So largely doing the role now, but congratulations, well deserved. Look forward to have you for a very long time, doing a great job. You concur?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. All right, personnel postings are listed. Curriculum committee, Ms. LaCara, do you have anything?
That meeting discussed the new courses at Whitman and Stimson, and we actually voted on that on the 11th meeting, and we had seen them listed, and they were in our packet. So I'm just going to mention one thing in addition to that, because that was the majority of the meeting. There was an AIS math pilot at Stimson, and it was a push-in policy for a 10-week period. And we were using it, they were using it to gather information from the students and teachers. And it turned out it was very positive. The students had increased confidence in math and support. And the discussion is that the pilot next year will be expanded and will add 2 more teachers. And then that was, the courses were the main,
Yep.
which we had discussed at the last meeting.
Yep.
And approved them.
Thank you, Ms. LaCara.
Okay.
Thank you. And I know your vision is on ongoing committee, right? And as well.
Yes.
Would you like to speak to that, Ms. Kavanaugh?
Absolutely. So next month, I believe I'm going to be giving a presentation to the board on the New York Inspires plan and the portion of a graduate, but our vision committee consists of slightly over 50 people, and we've been working together since last June to really unpack the things that are coming to us from New York State Education Department and put our South Huntington stamp on it. So we have parents, teachers, a whole slew of people involved, and we're working on pathways to graduation to support our students. More to come in April.
Thank you, Ms. Kavanaugh.
Sure.
All right, moving along, we have multiple committee reports for facilities. Try to give a summary as quickly as possible. We're beginning to work on some refreshment plans over at the Silas Wood Pre-K Center. There'll be a lot of work that will happen this summer, big time between when that building closes and when it needs to reopen. Mostly cosmetic, but we need to. There'll be a lot of painting going on there to get everything fresh for the beginning. Casework, and also we're expecting finally some new doors to be installed over at Silas Wood. We've been waiting on these doors for quite a while, so they will have new doors to match the rest of the district. We have some projects that have begun work now. As you see you'll probably see them and see some others. Those include the Walden High School television studio and the front field at Walden High School second turf field. As I've discussed earlier, we discussed projects for next year's transfer to capital. Mr. Conway will go through them more extensively at our next meeting. But some of them include the boiler replacement over at Countrywood, as I mentioned, as well as a tennis court replacement at Walden High School and a couple other items as well. A lot of work is being done in-house now, which is a testament to the strength of our facilities unit. We have really talented workers in place, and they've done a lot of the work over at Memorial, really impressively. And when people see that building, when we show it off, which we're proud of it, you'll see that that was really done in-house, which saves a tremendous amount of money. We've extended them as well as much as we can over at Walt Whitman High School on the break. Lucy, you may have seen it. We refreshed the orchestra room. Amazing, right? Yeah, it looks so good. Yeah. A coat of paint can do some wonders. We redid the floor, removed an old sink, we put some new blinds in, and we painted the ceiling, and it's really like a new room. A couple other things that we're working on. We've had a request from some students for foul poles and outfield fencing for baseball, softball, so we're working on that. And there was a request as well for a storage container over Memorial for the baseball, softball, so they don't have to lug their stuff in from Memorial each day, and we're working on that as well. Also, working on our beautification plan, as we previously signed an agreement with the BBS architects. They're responsible for beautification projects district-wide, and right now, the focus and the emphasis will be on Countrywood, Memorial, and Silas Wood to get those ready for next year. Also looking at water fountains throughout the district. As you may have heard, there's been a lot of discussion about lead in water. We're excellent in South Huntington, but we like to stay ahead of the curve. So we probably recommend replacing some of the existing porcelain water fountains that we have with some additional bottle fillers. And also at Silas Wood, part of our capital proposal that we'll be recommending at the next meeting is a second playground for the preschool. so that every student will have the opportunity to use it next year. Preschool numbers are coming in.
Yes, I think we're at 213 students registered for September. And, there will be some, I noticed there was, Dr. Hender put out some notifications regarding, there is no more lottery, so we don't know if families are kind of, because by April 1st, they had to submit to be part of it. So we're just trying to get ahead of this to see how many parents, just to inform them that we want them to register now because, we do have to staff it appropriately. And we can't just have parents signing up in August. That would hurt possibly having the building properly staffed. So we don't want to put anybody on a waiting list. We have the building, we have the rooms, but to hire a teacher, that can't happen so quickly. So we're just, advising all the parents, let the numbers go up. We have the building, but it jumped pretty quickly over the last week or so. So, but if you're out there, and if you know someone that has a pre-K child, please get them to register.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia. Other comments by board members? Yes, Ms. Liscara, followed by Ms. Clark, followed by Mr. Scragg.
Okay, I just wanted to mention, and Mr. Ciapetta went with me to the International Night at the high school, and they were amazing performances from our students. They were dancing, singing, the quinceañero, Show, and I got to give a shout out to Lucy. She and Mr. Vilamos led the Greek dance with other students, and I think your other advisor. I wasn't sure who was the other advisor. Who was? Okay, and everything was amazing. They really, all the performances were top notch. And then afterwards, they had international food in the South Cafeteria, and I just think it was a fun night, and it was good attendance, and I think everyone enjoyed it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Liscara. Ms. Clark.
I just wanted to wish everyone who celebrates a happy Easter and a happy Passover, and for everyone to enjoy the next break.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Hopefully we get some nicer weather, warmer weather. Mr. Scragg.
I had the privilege recently of attending several of our district's reflections ceremonies at all levels. And I just want to congratulate all the students who put themselves out there by expressing themselves creatively. Nothing warms my heart more than seeing our students use their artistic gifts in all of their forms. We had many winners at the Suffolk level, and we've even had a handful of winners at the state level. So I just want to congratulate those students and the units for celebrating those students. I also want to say thank you to everyone involved with our Lip Sing for Scholarships. It gets bigger and better every year. I just cannot believe the talent and the preparation. So thank you to the administrators and the teachers. Thank you to all the parents who brought the kids out and donated. We were able to raise this year our highest total ever of around $28,000 for senior scholarships. And that will enable us this year to give out 55 senior scholarships and help some students buy some books and take some classes. So thank you to South Huntington and the district for supporting this. And thank you also to the Board of Ed and Cabinet who get up there and dance along with me. So thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple others I want to recognize. I don't think we had since we last came. The Suffolk County champion girls varsity basketball team. They're going to be honored at many ceremonies over the course of the next few weeks, and we will honor them at April 21st board meeting. Also had the ability to attend the SAT, ACT Scholars Breakfast. Great job, Mr. Murphy, as always on that. It was quite a turnout. We had a lot of students this year, and Lucy was one as well. No surprise. But it was excellent, and we had a guest speaker, Ms. Tina Abendondolo from the high school, who spoke, and she spoke great, as always. One of our most popular teachers, great teacher, and it was a great event as always. So thank you, Dr. Murphy. And Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, I had this past Monday night. I had the privilege of attending Villa Lombardi's to acknowledge two wonderful people sitting up here for their board service. That was Mr. Andrew Bronson, Mr. Sidney Joyner, for being honored for all their 9 years of service to the board. And it was a pleasure to be in the audience watching both of you be honored. I would also like to congratulate the cast and all the support staff to make Beetlejuice Junior happen. That was a wonderful middle school performance. It was amazing. I know Dr. Turner was just here. I think she left. But everybody involved, it was amazing. And I know we had a lot of students because we had 2 different casts. And so to all of the staff that worked with our students, thank you as well. Spring season is on the way. We have sports going on, that's for sure, and games are starting up, scrimmages. So I know it's March, and it's a little struggle to be out there with battling the elements. But I did see 74 degrees next week. So remember, it's as Mark Twain said, we can only predict the weather. So I'm hoping it holds true. We definitely deserve some warmth up here in New York. We don't have to travel to Florida. Also, yesterday I had the honor of attending the Challenger basketball game, and that's with our students with disabilities at the middle school. And once again, those students were awesome. It was a pleasure being there, and also, once again, the staff behind and helping it, making it a reality, and watching the students dunk the ball and scoring baskets and just seeing the smile on their faces is priceless. So thank you to everybody making that happen, and happy Easter and happy Passover to all that celebrate.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia. Turning to Lucy.
Okay, so in case you didn't know, Pippin's this weekend. If you didn't find out from the whole performance, it's this weekend, so come see it. This evening, letters outlining students' schedules for the 2026-2027 school year are coming out. This will give parents and students an idea of what courses they will be taking next year, and it's super helpful for those 8th graders coming up to the high school. This Saturday, Spring Fling is taking place at Walt Whitman, hosting over 200 of the senior citizens in the community to have an amazing lunch with a series of raffles and games. Students of Walt Whitman and student government members from ESCO and just regular student gov are hosting the event by being waiters and helping out with the announcements. Following this, many of the Spring Fling attendees attend Pippin, so we love the support this event brings to the arts as well. The real and better lip sync is taking place on Friday, April 24th for Walt Whitman. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. The kids do it best. What can I say?
That's true.
All grade levels and several members of the staff at Whitman will be participating. This night is so much fun and so eventful, so don't miss it, and I promise you'll get a good laugh. The Muslim Student Association Day of Unity is taking place on April 1st throughout the school day. 10 districts in New York State will be participating in this event, and the Department of Education from New York will also be in attendance. This is a great way to connect communities throughout the state and give students a part of MSA, more students in which they can relate to and create bonds. It is also amazing to see how other communities address inclusivity and diversity, and see how the South Huntington community can continue to improve. This Friday, Countrywood has a family fun night to bring families and students closer together, bringing them an amazing night. Silaswood has a STEAM fair this Monday, March 30th. This fair is the first real chance students get to find out and embrace their love for the subjects that build STEAM, and allows students to get familiar with presenting and building an entire project, which is an extremely important skill as you get older. I've learned a lot of that. This fair is a competition within the school and gives students motivation to work incredibly hard on these projects. And finally, fifth grade sports night at Birchwood is taking place on Tuesday, March 31st. An amazing event for these 5th graders to have as they get closer to graduation and moving up to 6th grade. And that's it. Hopefully, at the next meeting, I will be able to tell you where I'm going to college, because I still can't tell you yet, because I don't know, but so hopefully soon. Yay.
Thank you, Lucy. Great job. All right. Voice of the residents. I don't see any residents signed up. And yes. What? I'm sorry? Oh, you did? Oh. Okay. Must not be working. Come on up.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Could you just state your name, please?
Dana Calvert.
Okay.
Hi. I'm a doctoral candidate in education research, as well as a concerned parent. I love our school community, and I'm grateful for all the wonderful things going on. However, since my children started school, I'm also concerned about the turn towards militarization in our school district. This district could once boast that it had gun-free campuses, but now there are expensive armed guards stationed on all the grounds, and at the last board meeting, a JROTC program was approved to begin at Whitman High School, potentially as early as next year. Armed guards and public school sanctioned curriculum supporting the military-industrial complex make me feel unsafe about our schools. I propose to this board that weapons in the military should be separate from public education, that all school campuses should generally be police and gun-free zones, that military recruitment, which is a goal of JROTC, whether stated explicitly or not, has no place in schools, and that public schools should be places where we foster academic achievement and democratic thinking. First, there is no evidence that armed guards make our schools safer, and published studies in peer-reviewed journals have shown that, along with school resource officers, armed guards make schools less safe, especially for students of color. We are in a moment where ICE is treating immigrants like third-class citizens, and it was documented that a student in neighboring Huntington schools was deported simply because a police officer was present on school grounds and made a bad judgment call. Now there are several retired police officers on our school grounds, and we don't know if they have professional or personal connections or associations with ICE at all. We, the community, don't know if they have had de-escalation training, how often they are trained or by whom, or if they have clear instructions about what to do if ICE shows up at a school. Research shows that they escalate shooter situations and have resulted in more injuries and deaths on the scene rather than less. Studies have also shown that simple safety measures like locked doors, panic buttons, and ample community resources do more to protect kids in emergency situations than armed guards. Having said that, I was disappointed to hear that after armed guards were implemented in 2023, holes in school fences, aka compromised entry points, were found at multiple schools. I wondered, why didn't we cover these security basics first before jumping to an expensive measure that has no evidence in its favor, only evidence against it? I wondered, is the board going to continue to fund this initiative year after year with no ongoing evaluation process? Second, I implore this board, the curriculum committee, and Dr. Murphy to reconsider and continue thinking critically about JROTC programs. Education experts have also provided evidence that JROTC programs are mostly centered in communities with students of color and more low-income populations than in white, wealthy communities, which implies that it is inequitably implemented, if not outright predatory. At the last board meeting, it was ironically celebrated at the start of the meeting that we are a top district in the state for diversity. At the same time, JROTC was announced at the end. This was also the same week that several Americans serving in the military died in Iran for reasons not supported or understood by the majority of the American public. As recently as 2022, JROTC has been called out for enrolling students of color without their permission in multiple locations and making it hard for them to disenroll. And this was covered by major news outlets extensively. JROTC students were also found to be more likely to join the military than attend college after graduating high school than their peers. These statistics beg the question, is college as a goal for our students here in South Huntington being deprioritized for the sake of the funding that the program would bring in? Were these statistics or journalistic investigations considered? Were the voices of veterans who advocate against JROTC and many nonprofit organizations dedicated to the issue, such as an advocacy group that recently spoke to some of my colleagues, taken into account? Or was funding the primary consideration? I hope it is not too late to consider all of this and reevaluate. If student safety is our shared utmost priority, these decisions are difficult to understand. I believe that we all care about student safety and have this shared interest at heart. With that in mind, can this board commit to a formal, systematic plan to routinely reevaluate armed guards and JROTC? And can the findings of such audits be shared with the community or involve community input? Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the Board of Education? All right, thank you. We'll take a motion to go into executive session. Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Scragg, to discuss matters of personnel, to continue ongoing interviews, among other topics. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.